And those, where the heck is the camera? There's a plastic retaining clip that you don't want to use. But those, if you can see that prong there, that green prong, those are quick release tabs. So by pinching, I don't want to do this now because I know this fuel system's under pressure, but by pinching these in, I believe, by pinching them in, this fuel line will come off. And when you turn your key on, it should, just for a split second, shoot some fuel out. That's how I check that on these vehicles, and that's actually how you check the fuel pressure. But okay, just a quick shot. This is the hose going to my engine. As you can see, there's plenty of fuel dripping out of it. All I did was I pushed those two. Let's set this up here. I don't want to drain too much gas out of the tank. This is just a plastic fitting right here, and all I did was pinch those two in with my fingers and wiggle the line off of here, and that's all this is. And to check your fuel pressure, you get the fuel pressure gauge, put a piece of 1/4-inch hose on here, and there usually are fittings, and you get in the vehicle, turn the key on, prime it, and try and crank it, and you're able to that's how you check your fuel pressure on these vehicles right here. And this other end here, this is what feeds the injector rail, and it's got O-rings inside there also. But I'm gonna go ahead and, I know that's gonna drizzle fuel out and hurt. Thought it was. But anyway, I'm going to go clean this out and put it back on. And that's a retainer in case those clips go bad. That connection there is a little bit more difficult, but these are high pressure connections. And this hose here you want to be careful with. You don't want to kink because it's reinforced metal by the looks of it. But that's what you got. That's what you want to do when you want to check your fuel pressure on these. Because usually there's a Schrader type valve on there. You can push it and bleed the system. This, if you really want to bleed it, make sure there's gas coming out. Put a length of hose on this, put it into a jar or a tank, turn the key on till you hear the fuel pump humming. It should squirt out some gas. If it does not, if it does nothing after you cycle the key a few times, you need to go back to the fuel pump and make sure it's pumping fuel out of it into the fuel line by removing one of those lines and performing the same test. If it is not, you might not have enough fuel in your tank. So put, a gallon or two more in the tank. If it still does not pick up, you either got a faulty fuel pump or the sock on the bottom of the tank is plugged up. Now, if you find out the fuel pump's working and everything, but you're still not getting gas up here, up to this line, you need to check your fuel filter. That could be plugged. And the fuel filter's back on there, and that comes off, I think, the same way that this does. But anyway, I hope that helps. I'm going to go ahead and clean this up and put this stuff back on. There you go. I'm trying to get you a good shot of the fuel line. Now what I did before I hooked this up, I made sure this was clean. And you make sure it's clean before you disconnect it. And this clip, as you can see how it's rotated, it's lined up with the hole in the side of that plug there. And that's kind of what you do. The clip does wiggle around. And just kind of do what I'm doing, is wiggle the line down in place, and you pinch the tabs in. I know you couldn't see that, but I pinched them in. You might have to grab the fuel line from below. Now, after you pinch those tabs in and you push the fuel line down on there, you want to make sure that it's connected. So you gently pull up like this. Twist it just a little bit, pull up. You don't want that connector flying off when the engine's running. But I can tell that that's connected because this tab right here is flush up against the base of this black connector, and you can feel it sprung up. Now after you reconnect your fuel line, you want to make sure it's not leaking, and you want to reprime your fuel lines. I'll let you hear the pump. Turn the key off, wait a few seconds for the relays to click back, and turn it again. And you hear that time it didn't go, it just had a nice even hum. Okay, that means the fuel line is primed and pressurized. And you want to go out here and look where you put your connection back together, and you want it to be dry and not leaking. There's no leaks there, it's dry. So I'm going to go ahead and clean this, just because I like to put things back together clean. Put that on there and we'll start her up. Now this engine may spit and sputter a little bit, because essentially we had the fuel oil drained, but I primed it, which is simply turning the key off, turning it back on, and there you go. So once you do that, of course you want to go back here, any place you touched, and check for leaks. These here, those are just vapor hoses. And check your fuel line, make sure it's dry. L1, L18. You can see I've been leaking a little bit of oil here and there, but hey, how old is this car now? 7 years old. It's going to leak a little bit of stuff.